This is such a beautiful and tranquil scene. It just makes me forget that the AI opponents and other NPCs constantly interrupt me. Oh man. If you'll excuse me, I'm just gonna bask in this glorious view for a little while longer and then get on with the guide, okay? Hope you guys don't mind. Feel free to join me. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Anno 1800 Beginner's Guide series. Today we are going to be taking a little bit of a change of direction from the artisans while still kind of remaining on point. And what do I mean by that? Well, this is the part that a lot of Anno players who are starting out start to get a little bit overwhelmed, okay? Hence why I said at the beginning of the artisan chain, I don't know why I said it like that, it can be a little bit daunting.
Snake Eyes, is that how it is?
Yeah, it is. Be quiet. Here's the problem, okay? Let's head back over to the old world really quick so I can explain this. The artisans are going to require goods
bright and gay
from the new world in the form of their fur coats. There are specialists that will help with this, and we can work to get them later, but if you want to physically make these fur coats by the chain, letter for letter, good for good, you are going to need cotton fabric. The only way to get cotton fabric is in the new world. Additionally, if you want to fulfill their happiness needs, which rum is definitely one,
life may be humblest.
You are going to have to produce sugarcane and the rum in the new world. So there are two things. This is what the game is essentially telling us, that we need to start branching out into the new world to get these resources for them. Otherwise, we cannot upgrade them to engineers. There is one little trick, though, that I want to show you guys from the get-go. If you do have Madame Kahina in your game, notice that I have not even done anything with regards to rum. Okay, nothing. But we have 148 rum in stockpile right now. And we are providing that to our artisans. The way that I did that is I went here and I put a buy order in. So you have a buy here, a sell, a buy and sell, and then a no trade. I put it for a buy because if you were to go over here to Madame Kahina, she actually has rum for sale. So early game, you are capable of managing this particular luxury good by trading with her. Just set the buy order for maximum and she'll come over here and start selling it to you as much as she possibly can. That's one way to hold your population over until you can be the one to actually produce it yourself. The nifty little trick, you know, all these little things, once you get to start learning all of them, the game becomes a lot easier. But today we're not going to be focusing on Roma. We are going to go back to the New World. Alternatively, you can press number 2 on the keypad to take us over to that region. Okay. There is one other thing that I want to discuss before we get into the actual settlement building and discussing the Jornalero workforce, which is essentially the equivalent of the farmers for this region. If you do have the New World Rising DLC, you have access to this mega island, okay? I would highly recommend this DLC. In the future, if you're just playing around with base game, you probably will not see this. The benefits of this island are many. The first one being is that it has all of the necessary fertilities for the core goods. Second, it has a ton of deposits that you can take advantage of, and they're all infinite, okay? The third thing is that you see this little pause sign over here? This is to create a dam. The dam provides electricity island-wide, okay? Electricity later on becomes a little bit of a pain. This island pretty much negates that. Any place that's connected to a road, any building, period dot the end, is going to have electricity coverage all the way. So it does take some time to build this thing, but do know that Manola, being the actual name of the settlement when you do colonize it, you can change it if you want, don't worry about that, is probably all you really need to survive in the New World for a very long time, because look at the size of this thing. You have all the oil deposits over here, you have some mineral deposits over here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 harbor areas, you have a lot of land. Okay, so definitely play around with this, take a look at it. If you're interested, you can also see what I have built with regards to this island in my expert campaign series. The link will be in the description and all that good stuff. But let's say for all intents and purposes you don't have the New World Rising DLC and you just have the base game. Well, then you're going to get islands similar to these. There was a time in Anno 1800's history, and I'm just going to throw this little tidbit out there, that a lot of the New World islands had terrible layouts, and to a point, some of them still kind of do. But one thing that they did, which as we can clearly see here, our islands are actually on the good side of things. What they had were really small areas in the actual islands with massive rivers running through it and completely breaking one side of the island from the other. Okay, that is what a lot of Anno players did not like. So they changed this with New World Rising DLC, which is fantastic. Now the islands look kind of similar to that of what you would see in the old world, Cape Trelawney, and all that good stuff. So they are a lot easier to manage now, which is fantastic. So the clipper that we received from Isabel, of whom for her in our game is down here, we use that clipper to come over here and colonize this island of Andrest. Now, the one thing before you actually go ahead and colonize is to go around the map and try to look for the following goods, because this is going to be very crucial. Plantains are going to be very important for your actual settlers. The reason for this is like it's kind of the equivalent of giving your farmers, like, I don't know, what's the first thing they need? What is the first thing they need? Embarrassing, right? I have forgotten. I'm gonna go see.
Fresh as a daisy here.
Fish, that's the one. Okay, it's fish. Yeah, totally forgot. I haven't had coffee today. If you haven't had coffee either, go get yourself some coffee because it's really important. Then you should actually record a guide video. See? That's really important to know. Okay, so the plantains are the equivalent of fish, but you don't only provide them with plantains. You have to do that plus another good into making fried plantains. That becomes their first initial request. Sugarcane is used to produce rum. Rum is a luxury resource that they will also appreciate, but for our purposes, we can provide it to them, absolutely, but we can also start sending it over to the old world and actually stop buying it from Madame Kahina. The next one is cotton fabric. So cotton fertility and cotton fabric are going to be very important, as we mentioned earlier, because we're going to need that for fur coats. And fur coat production early game is probably what turns people off the most. That one and canned food, they're just terrible chains. And corn. Corn is so versatile. It's unbelievable. Corn is also used for the silos for animals, and it's used for various goods such as tortillas and stuff like that. It's going to be your bread and butter in this region. Coffee, we're not going to worry about this for too much long right now, at least, but later on, Engineer Plus, coffee fertility is going to be like gold for you. Okay, you want to make sure you have a lot of coffee coming in and your people will drink a lot of coffee. So we now have the main fertilities. You want plantains, sugarcane, cotton, corn, and coffee. If you can't and you're going on a harder difficulty setting, you will not see probably all these on one island. That's where you're going to have to space it out. Manola probably will have these already by default, and it will have all of these if you do have the DLC, so don't worry about that. If you actually do have that one, like I said, this island is an all-in-one, so don't worry about that one. Okay, let's begin with Andrest. So we're going to start with a typical. We'll just build a road. We'll bring it all the way to here. And then we can also do the same. We can build a straight road out into here. Similar setup. We have to always get our stuff going. And we'll try to find a spot kind of in the back, like right over here would probably be fantastic, because we're not going to be building in this side quite yet. Let's go ahead and pre-plant some stuff as we learned before.
May bring negative chi.
Okay, whatever. So we're going to put down our warehouse first, and then we're going to also put down our lumberjack huts, similar to what we did on Roma. So we have 100% here, 100% here, and 100% here. And we're going to connect them all. And the really important thing here is that the rum production is actually going to need logs, okay? Actual wood. So that means we can't just have them for our sawmills. but we'll make it a 1-to-1 regardless, and it'll be all right. The next thing is that we're going to have to actually set up the town. So we'll start from here. We'll put down the marketplace, and we're going to go ahead with the typical. Just have a set like this if my mouse wants to work with me. And we can do something a little bit along these lines. I guess it does not want to, so we'll just go ahead and copy this and we'll put that like right over here. And always remember that you're gonna have to connect everything with roads. Very, very important. Otherwise your people are gonna start complaining at you, and you don't want that to happen. So in this instance, definitely build the marketplace up first and then everything else.
You reached a new milestone.
Perfect. Now, we did a little bit of a blunder because I do not have 10 timber, and I don't think this ship has 10 timber. So I'm gonna actually get rid of a couple of these, and hopefully I'll be able to get some resources back. Perfect, I actually got 210. And in the back here, we're gonna have to build our warehouse because a warehouse actually costs 10 timber, right? We're gonna go ahead and start building up these guys because we're gonna need them to start working. And essentially, we're gonna make Andres be self-sufficient for a time while we can actually build our population and figure out what we need to do. So we're going to do the same on the other side, and that'll be just fine. Anything within the radius of this particular marketplace is going to work for us right now. And obviously, this is just a very basic layout. You can change it however you please. Just make sure that they're all connected and they're all happy. So we're just waiting to get some goods over in here. And what we'll do is, until we actually get this to be maximum, I'll just let the game run, so you guys don't have to just sit here and wait. Okay? Be right back. Alrighty, so we now have the maximum amount of timber for this island in its stockpile right now, and we're going to go ahead and build up the rest of the town because we're able to do that. And that way we can actually get to the other goods. So the very first one that we see here is the fried plantain. That is what they're going to want.
place to see out the twilight years.
Oh, that's great, man. Love to see it. So they're going to need fried plantains. They're also going to need ponchos. These are two things that you're going to actually have to make, okay? It's not as easy as putting down just one building. And apparently I did not put a road here, so I even disregarded my own plan. So let's take a look at the fried plantain kitchen. We are going to need a fish oil factory, which, fun fact, this does actually cost some negative attractiveness, which kind of sucks. And then you're also going to need a plantain plantation. Try saying that 5 times real fast. And both of these are at 30 seconds, so that's fine. That's fantastic. And then the fried plantain kitchen, it actually is also 30 seconds. So this is a 1-to-1, very, very simple, basic layout. And what you can do is you can either set a section of your island to get that going, or you can try to start doing it within the town. The way for the fish oil factories, though, they're very similar to that of the fisheries over there in the old world. So we can just put them right here, and they even have like a similar design. So we can go ahead and build this one up. And then what we can do is we can also work on the plantain plantation. So we'll put this one right over here. And it also has plantain grows. So this is very similar. You go ahead and you click and drag. If you want to be very fancy, you can hold down shift and you can just complete as much as you want.
A new milestone.
Great. So let's go ahead and build this one up as well. And now we have our plantation going as well. If we go to the production, we will see that we need 2 tons per minute pretty much. So I think if we just put the 1 for our population right now, it should be sufficient. And it's a relatively small building, so don't really worry about space and stuff like that. You can put down like maybe 3 in this area just for later, but go ahead and build 1 for yourself right now so we can get the initial good going. And if we go to the production, we'll see that in fact is just enough with this 1 fried plantain kitchen. Jesus, that is really tongue twisting, isn't it? There's also one other crucial thing that you have to do. If you're on a new island, you definitely need to go to the seasons right over here, Seat of Power. This is probably the most important DLC in the entire game, bar none. And you are going to put down banners, okay? Banner there, banner there. Actually, you know what you can even do? You can put a banner here, and you can even put a banner here. Perfect. Looks beautiful. So we're going to let that work. The next thing that we're going to have to work on are ponchos. Ponchos are an alpaca farm to a poncho darner. So this is exactly like work clothes to a T. That is essentially what it is. You have is on over there, it's obviously the sheep farm, and you get the work cloth production. And here you're gonna need less people in order to produce the ponchos, but it's still the same 30 seconds. So because this is an animal farm, I'm gonna kind of build it off the beaten path and like maybe back over here. So I know I don't really want to move this thing later on, so I'm gonna pre-plan, and I'll put down a warehouse right over here like so, and try to figure out where the heck to put this thing. So the building even looks relatively the same, and we're just going to go ahead and put down these lovely modules. I will go ahead and put down a second one, actually. Let's see where I can fit this thing. This should be a good spot. Spin that around because I'm crazy, and put down the modules. And then we'll have these two built up. So let's go ahead and actually do that. Perfect. And we don't necessarily need to have our poncho darners right next to this thing. Obviously, because there's a production chain, later on, when I show you guys how to optimize, then you will be putting all these in kind of like one location, really, because there are specialists that can work with all these at once, and that's what you really want to see. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and put down some poncho darners as if they're pretty much like in the town itself. Like you want to go get some brand new ponchos, you can just go over here and it should be fine, because you're gonna use your harbor area as an additional warehouse. That's okay. And definitely while you are here, do not ever neglect the fire services. Make sure to put them down. So I'll put one down over here and one down over here. Go ahead and build them up if you so please. So let's take a look at the poncho darners, and the one is sufficient enough for our population. So the next thing here is how to really navigate around the god-awful chain when it comes to cotton. Okay, so cotton, it actually takes a minute to produce 1 ton, but then it takes cotton fabric 30 seconds. So that means we're going to need 2 cotton plantations for 1 cotton mill. Alternatively, and this also, you know, kind of ties into why New World stuff can be a little bit annoying at the beginning, at least for me, in my opinion. You can also make sails here, but look at the length of stuff that you're going to need in order to make sails. It's so much easier to do it over there in the old world than doing it here. So you're never going to really want to make sails. Additionally, I wouldn't really consider having a sailing shipyard here. It's just a waste of time. Later on, you're not going to be using ships, in my opinion, that have sails, unless you're going for like some mega hard challenge. So really don't focus on this. Completely disregard this. All you're working on is this whole fur coat thing. So we're going to need to get some cotton plantations going. And again, we want to find a good spot on this island that we can just hunker down and we don't need to worry about them for a long time. So I'm just going to extend the road over to here. And this looks like a pretty decent spot, you know. We can go ahead and extend a road over here as well to go over to like this section. And we can probably start putting down some of the cotton plantations right over here. So in order to get...
I could simply go to press.
I really don't care what you do. In this situation, if we want to have 2 cotton mills, we're going to need 4 cotton plantations. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. What I sometimes like to do, and this is just more my aesthetic, is plop down a warehouse and then build around it. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the fields to this first. So it'll be something like this. And then I'll go ahead and I'll grab another one. I'll put it right around it. And just to make it look a little bit more realistic, I just extend the farm fields around it. Like so. And you can also do the same in here if you so choose. Remember the whole shift tactic. It's still going to work. So we're going to need 2 more actually. We'll put one over here and one over here. And do the exact same thing. Just go ahead and fill this spot all out with these fields. And you'll be golden. It actually doesn't look too bad. Okay, so we have our cotton mills over here. We have our cotton plantations, excuse me. Cotton plantations over here. I'm just going to, just because I'll do this. There we go. Problem solved. So now we have our warehouse. That's really important. Make sure that's always there. Let's go ahead and build this one up first, and then we'll build all 4 of these. Wonderful. So these guys are going to start working, And what I would recommend at this point is keep these things relatively close, but at the same time, you also don't want to overload one warehouse. If you're making enough money, you can go ahead and put another one over here. Alternatively, you can find another spot on your island that has like a warehouse that's not really congested, like right over here. What is your issue?
No fields, no work.
Oh, that's 4. Great. There we go. Now they're gonna work fine, I think. No, they are in blueprint. There you go. There you go. Now it's working. Okay. So over here, we can go ahead and build another small warehouse, and we can get 2 of these things built up. Go and build 2 of those. And they're not going to take as many people. I think it's around, yeah, it's 10, as opposed to the workload productions, which is 50, which is wild. So always remember as well that a fire station is important here. These things can catch on fire, so it's a good thing to keep one of these kind of close by. And that should be pretty good for this area. Now, as far as their luxury goods are concerned, they would want 2 things.
To really celebrate.
They would want a rum production, obviously, and they would want a chapel. A chapel is easy because it's just like one building, and you can just plop it down like this. Very similar to that of a pub. That's essentially their equivalent. And it's a lot smaller, so that allows you to put more of them down from time to time. So maybe we can try to fit one over here. I'll probably go ahead and like move one home, and I'll just like stuff it right over here. And then I can probably just put a chapel right in the middle here. And that way we have complete coverage. And overall, like plus 30 is pretty good. And it's still rising, right? Because the chapel is helping us out considerably. The rum, on the other hand, is something that you're going to have to make. Rum, for me, if you want my honest opinion, these guys are only going to be paying you 3 coins for rum. All right? Let's head on over to the old world really quick.
Sweet music.
These guys are going to be paying you 18 for rum. And rum becomes a little bit more, lucrative the higher you go. So later on, when you have engineers, they'll pay more for rum, right? So it's more beneficial to bring the rum over here, in my opinion, than providing it to your people here. Because as you can clearly see, they're at plus 33 with just a chapel, okay? That's fine. Obreras later on, which is the second tier, and then the artistas to follow, will probably benefit more
Ceasefire has ended.
That's fantastic. Will probably benefit more from you fulfilling more of their luxury needs than these guys. These guys are just like farmers, man. You don't really need to give them all too much for them to be happy and giddy and whatnot. But what we can do is set up the initial rum production so you guys can see what I'm really talking about. And we have room over here. Let's just go ahead and do the same. So the good thing with this production is that the lumberjack hut, because they're going to be working so much back there, we're still going to be stockpiling a lot of wood. This is fantastic for us. The sugar cane, on the other hand, is 30 seconds to produce 1 ton. And then the rum distilleries themselves are 30 seconds. So that's fine. We can go ahead and probably put down like 4 of these things, and we'll be really solid for a while.
We had to go to press.
And you can always extend the middle finger to this man if he's screwing you left, right, and center. That's what I do. You know, I'm just gonna do this actually. Go here, copy this, put this, and like this one's probably gonna be a little bit wonky. Yeah, we'll probably have to fix this one a little bit. Let's get a road connection through here. Figure out how many. This one just needs a couple. Okay, so you're good there. I'll put a warehouse over here instead. And just for good measure, I'm going to put down like 1 lumberjack hut right over here. That's going to be specifically meant for bringing in wood to this warehouse, okay? So we'll go ahead and build this. We're going to build this lumberjack hut. We're also going to build all these farm fields because we have enough. And that's totally fine. So right now, what's really left is to actually build the rum distilleries themselves. This is a good spot that you can do that in because you only have this warehouse and you also have another one over here. So 2 in 1 spot, they'll have an option on which one to go to. They're a pretty sizable building and they will need 31 of those to work in them. So if you want, you can put them down like this and you can save yourself some room. Put them in a little box and then you can put a road around it makes it easier. And obviously make sure that you have a fire station close by. Now, if we were to look over here, we are producing 16. I'm sorry. We are supplying 19 wood, or yeah, wood per minute. That's a lot, okay? But we're also using it for our timber. So we're going to have to do a little bit of a balancing act here, but it's not going to be as difficult as you think it is. So we can even just build all 4 of these and we'll be okay. Because the moment that the timber is actually maxed out on this island, all the wood that's going to the stockpile is exclusively going for these guys. There's absolutely no reason to provide it to anything else unless you're bringing it from another island or you want to actually expand upon your chain over back here. So like we could potentially even go over here because there's room and put down like one lumberjack hut over here and another one back here. But also factor in that you're going to be paying maintenance costs for all of these. And they all are also going to be using your workforce, so definitely keep those in mind. So we're just going to go over here, in my opinion, just go ahead and pause the rum for these guys, because we don't want them to really have it. We want to send it over to our artisans. And then put this right here so you can see how much you have. So rum right now, we don't have any in the stockpile. And if we were to go over here to our production, we are making just enough sugarcane, and we're still overproducing on wood, which means we can have a lot of rum come out of these distilleries very quickly, specifically 8 per minute. That is pretty solid. We just need to wait for them to actually get the goods, which takes a while because they actually have to go through the whole loading process. That also takes some time. Do factor in that there are additional things here that I have not discussed, specifically with the caoutchouc plantation. Caoutchouc plantations are meant for additional goods in higher tiers. And as you can clearly see, we do not have the fertility here, so it won't even grow to begin with. And we naturally have the police station. You can choose to put down a police station. Right now, island happiness is 18. So I don't think there should be any riots. And you can tell when this thing actually, like, after they're done training the freaking officers, whether they'll actually riot or not. And then, like always, you need to check to make sure that your population is actually being given enough resources. So we're still good on the fried plantains, and we're still good on the ponchos with room to grow. If you even want to pre-plan where your expansion path is going to be, you can go ahead and put down another one of these plantations down, like we did similarly over here, and with these fried kitchens over here in the Poncho Darner.
I wouldn't ask if I could do it myself.
So this is another one
Not the old
of
man with a hat, por favor.
this dude lost alligators in the town, so this is naturally very scary. And it's easy to really spot these guys because they're pretty large, and they always will walk in the middle of the street. So just try to go ahead and find them best you can. Sometimes they'll like respawn after a while, so if you can't see them all at once, don't worry, they'll pop up. They will always pop up. There we go. There's another one, and we just need one more, and there he is.
You kept your word.
Okay, we're going to talk about that one later, because that item that he gave us, if that was, for example, for caoutchouc, which would have been fantastic for this guide, that essentially allows you to put it into a trade union, and an island that doesn't have that fertility will have that fertility around the radius of the trade union, which is very powerful. But this is the beginning of your New World town and your beginning of a rum production, and pretty much getting the cotton fabric up and running. So that is also another thing that we're going to have to put in here. So right now we have 23 cotton fabric. We have 7 rum, and that's constantly growing because we're not providing it to our people at the moment. Later on that can change. And we're just going to work on expansion from this point on. So once in the next episode, we are going to actually set these to task with this particular ship to bring it over to the old world. And then we're going to actually work on the fur coat production chain, because there's another little tidbit. I'm going to throw this out there. There's another component to this that's going to be a little bit on the awkward side of things. So this is where we're going to end the guide for today. We got our New World colony up and running. Fantastic. And that's all we really like to see, that they're happy and they're doing what we need them to do, really. So until next time, please consider like, commenting, subscribing, hitting that bell button, sharing it with your friends. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you learned something, and I will catch you on the next episode, my Rantians.